All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the April meeting of the Zoning Board. And tonight we have just variances that we're going to hear. And here's our procedure. We're going to ask that each applicant comes up, and if you haven't signed in, we ask you to sign in as you testify. We're going to call you up individually, and we ask you to confine your remarks to 15 minutes. Once we've done that, we'll ask for anyone who wants to speak in favor of the application to come forward, and we ask you to limit your comments to 5 minutes. Then we'll ask for anyone who wants to speak against the application to step forward. At that point, I'll then seek remarks from the code enforcement, and then I'll give the applicant a chance for factual rebuttal from what they heard. Okay, I think that covers it. So tonight's first case. Case 4-1, Or in Reno on behalf of Granite Center LLC request approval for a variance from section 2841E, maximum lot coverage, section 2841H, table of dimensional regulations, to permit 89.3% of a lot coverage where 85% is the maximum allowed at tax map lot 6442Z6, unaddressed Store Street in the Opportunity Corridor Performance OCP District. Not a development of regional impact, ZBA 0255-2025.
Sorry, one thing is, because we have two of the alternates, do we know
So
who's
as we have two alternates tonight, I'm going to ask Brenda Perkins to sit in on this first case. Okay.
fair?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes. For the record, please state your name.
John Arnold from Warren Reno, representing the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. And for, what would you like us to know?
All right, so the applicant, Granite Center LLC, that's owned by Steve Dupree. Our application relates to the parking lot that is just behind the legislative parking garage. Got it up on the GIS here. It's a surface lot right on the side of Store Street, between Store Street and the railroad tracks. This parking lot is actually comprised of two separate legal lots. You can see one highlighted right here. This is northerly, about half an acre. It's owned by Granite Center. And the southerly portion, down around here, it's about 2.5 acres, owned by the Historical Society. Granite Center, although they own just the northerly half acre, they lease the rest of the parking lot from the Historical Society. It all operates as one unified, cohesive parking lot. Basically, why we're here tonight is that Mr. Dupree is looking to do a lot line adjustment with the Historical Society to shift this dividing lot line to the south by about 130 feet. And what that would do is it would add about half an acre of the parking lot from the Historical Society to Mr. Dupree's portion of the property on the north. There aren't any physical changes proposed. The parking lot's going to continue to exist exactly the way it does today. This is just a shift of the lot line just slightly to the south to change some of the ownership. The property is in the Opportunity Corridor Performance District, and in that district the maximum lot coverage is 85%. Both of these lots today are non-conforming in terms of lot coverage. Granite Center's lot has about 87% today, and the Historical Society has about 88%. With the lot line adjustment, as I said, we're not adding any impervious surface here, but the actual lot coverage calculations for each lot change slightly because the lot areas are changing as well. And what this results in is lot coverage on the Granite Center property is going to go up to about 89.3%. Lot coverage on the Historical Society side is going to come down to about 86.5%. And so we're asking for a variance on the Granite Center side with that increased lot coverage. The lot coverage on the Historical Society side is still going to be over the 85% maximum, but that's decreasing, so we don't need any zoning relief for that. Overall, just the general theme here, and it kind of addresses, I think, all the variance criteria. This is really just a change in terms of a line on paper. We're not actually increasing the lot coverage here. The total lot coverage for the area doesn't change as a result of this request. The parking lot stays just the way it is in terms of function and appearance. The variance doesn't create a risk that there'll be more lot coverage in the future because both of the lots are non-conforming, so it's not like, a proposal could come and add more lot coverage to the historical society side without coming before you for a variance. So I'll be very brief. I think that's it, but if you have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to address them.
So these are really very minor lot adjustments. You're only dealing with less than 3% in each case.
Right, Granite Center goes from 87 to about 89, and Historical Society goes from 88 to about 86 and a half.
Great. Any questions of Mr. Arnold?
Yeah, it's just going to change the entry into that lot.
No changes are proposed right now. It's all interconnected and comes in by a gate right behind Weed Family there.
Are we good? Mr. Arnold, thank you very much. Is there anyone who likes to speak in favor of this appeal? Seeing none, is there anyone who likes to speak against this appeal? Does the city planner have any comments?
No.
Thank you. Seeing none, discussion. Brenda?
I don't see an issue with it. I'm fine.
Mark?
I almost feel like,
Laura, sorry.
Yep, we're moving a line on a plan, nothing's changing on the ground, I don't have any problem with it.
I almost feel like in a lot of towns, they might have just done it and no one would have ever known, but, so we're playing by the book on this one, so, but no, it's extremely minor. It's,
Jim?
Yeah, I'm the same. The lot coverage is a wash. One gets bigger, one gets smaller.
Great. Motion from anyone?
I will move to approve the variance,
You have to declare regional impact?
No.
You don't?
No.
well,
We have to consider whether or
Right.
not it's a development of regional impact, and it's certainly not.
I make a motion to grant the variance from section 28-4-1E, maximum lot coverage, and section 28-4-1H, table of dimensional regulations to permit 89.3% of lot coverage at tax map lot 6642Z6, unaddressed Storrs Street, where 85% is the maximum allowed because of all the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Speed reader.
I
Javier,
second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. All right, next case tonight is Zachary Letourneau on behalf of McCarthy Family Trust of 2021. Request approval for a variance from section 2841C, minimum lot frontage dash section 2841H, table of dimensional regulations to permit 150 feet of lot frontage for a new lot where 200 feet is a minimum requirement at tax map lot 92Z4, addressed at 227 Garvin Falls Road in the medium density residential RM district and the open space RO district, not a development or regional impact, ZBA 0256 2025.
And you have Mark sitting in on this
And
one.
this time I will have Mark sitting in. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm
Wait a
Zach.
minute.
Oh,
We appreciate the enthusiasm.
First of all, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
And as you testify, please state your name for the record.
My name is Zachary Letourneau with the Letourneau Land Management Company, and I'm representing the McCarthy Benevolent Trust and Kevin McCarthy, the owner of 227 Garvin Falls Road. Thank you for having us.
And you are?
I am Kevin McCarthy.
Thank you. What would you like us to know?
A lot of things, sir. No, it's pretty cut and dry. We're first up, before I proceed, I wanted to make sure that we thank the City of Concord. They've been very helpful to this entire process. I'm normally a general contractor. This is my first formal subdivision as a land manager, and the process has been absolutely streamlined and very efficient. So thank you to the City Planning Office.
That's what we like to hear.
Very helpful. Realistically, and not to bore you too terribly here, and definitely not to take up 15 minutes of your time, the only box that cannot be checked here on this project is the road frontage, the minimum 200-foot road frontage. You will notice in the documents that I provided to you, and I'll see if I can scroll through them here. Are they a part of this or no? Just the
They are.
Just the tax map, that's fine. You don't have to pull it.
Wrong
That's
map.
okay.
Yeah, the one we got was the wrong one.
Yeah,
The one
the
on the
wrong-
website is right.
Oh, okay.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
The map in the packet's the wrong one.
Okay. well, then
Oh,
we'll ignore that.
yeah, right.
Here.
So this is our site plan. As I mentioned before, I feel like it's not, it's definitely prudent to overstate the fact the only box that we can't check here is the road frontage. What I'd like to call your attention to is if you have the documents that I prepared, the separate documentation for the findings of fact, if you'll look at my notes, and it would be the first page of the addendum document, you'll notice under question 1, I list out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different locations in this tax map in this neighborhood. Some are abutters, some are not, and only 3 of them are conforming. So it would not change the nature of the disposition, the discourse of the neighborhood in any way. We'd simply just like to put a single-family dwelling on Mr. McCarthy's proposed subdivision at some point here. We're more than happy to answer any questions. I may not have all of them. I am not the surveyor. We subcontracted that out to Jacques Belanger here at the City of Concord. He did a wonderful job. We're very happy with his work as well.
Do you want to briefly touch on the hardship issue?
Yes, I would like to read that if that's okay. So I included all my notes for you to take a look at. Here, let's see here.
And while that's happening, can we pull up an overhead of an aerial view of the neighborhood? Is that possible? Yep.
Thank you. So there are several ways to kind of cross-section and look at this here as far as hardship is concerned. The first and most obvious under question 5 for unnecessary, the general purpose of the 200-foot frontage requirement based on layman's terms and understanding, right, I'm not an attorney, essentially is to ensure adequate access, spacing between properties, maintenance of neighborhood character, things of that nature. In this case, the property's slight deficiency in frontage does not impede access or alter the neighborhood's character, as evidenced by the similar frontages of those abutting properties. So of the 10 in the area, there's, like I mentioned, there's only 2 or 3 that are actually conforming. With that being said, strict application of the frontage requirement in this instance does not serve its intended purpose and imposes an unnecessary limitation on the property's use and utility, which could be argued for market devaluation in some regard, not being able to fully utilize the totality of the property in its current existence at 5.99 acres. The proposed subdivision results in lot sizes of 5 acres and 1 acre, both of which are suitable for residential use and exceed the minimum lot size requirements. The slight shortfall in frontage is consistent with the neighboring properties, as I mentioned, making the proposed use reasonable, prudent, and appropriate for the area, the character, and the disposition of the neighborhood. Under subsection B on the alternative, again, there were multiple ways to kind of skin this cat here, at least the way that we looked at it and consulted with the surveyor. The property's unique condition, given the slight deficiency, the slight technical deficiency in road frontage compared to the 200-foot requirement, does distinguish it from other properties in the sense that the strict conformance with this ordinance would prevent the reasonable subdivision of the land, again, limiting its use, utility, and potential. Therefore, granting the variance is necessary to enable a reasonable and prudent use and utility of the property that's in line with the neighborhood's established development pattern and the goals and objectives sought by the general consensus of the public today in order to mitigate the lack of housing in the state of New Hampshire. The property is functionally unusable for a reasonable subdivision without the variance, obviously, without just the extra 50 feet. The intent of the zoning regulations obviously being to allow for reasonable and productive land use at the bequest of the property owner while maintaining orderly development has not fallen on deaf ears. We believe that, as you'll notice here, particularly as it pertains to hardship in this subcategory, that we've taken all necessary parameter steps and measures with great thought and checked every box except this one, which is unfortunately not something that Mr. McCarthy nor I nor the good Lord could correct in this issue simply by way of tax map. Thank you.
Very good. Questions of Mr. McCarthy or Mr. Latour?
How much total frontage does it have?
150 feet.
Yeah, no, but total.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd have to look at that. Let me see. Pull it right back up again.
Is it 350?
It's over 350, yeah.
Was this the other, I think it had the frontage on that other map, I don't want to
So one would be conforming, the other one wouldn't be.
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm just trying to figure out how much extra.
Yeah.
So you're making one with 150, how much frontage does the other one have? Like, could you scoot some extra frontage over there?
I think we could make a menial adjustment to, the only thing that would impede that is
The
Mr.
drive.
McCarthy's driveway.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just
It
wondering-
would be, the line itself would probably not be as straightforward, but we could probably get a few more feet. I still.
But not 200?
It would not be 200.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
No, ma'am. Based on the contour of the land, the
Yep.
disposition of where this lot would draw.
Yep.
It wouldn't necessarily be
Okay,
logistically prudent.
that's all I need to know.
I think they refer, the technical term as far as a surveyor would call it, is a kicker. They wouldn't be able to kick the line
Yep.
in the correct direction.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, go ahead.
So do you have is there an actual diagram yet produced of what the new lot lines are gonna
Yes,
look like?
sorry, we had that up a second ago.
Oh, is that?
Sorry, keep
It's
making
really hard
That's
to
on there, you could see it's just on like the one left corner,
We'll pull it up here so you
Oh,
can see a
yeah,
little bit
the
bigger.
front left corner.
You might pull up what I have in front of you, maybe you could kind of show me
And
exactly
there's a total of 356
Thank you.
right now.
Oh, this is, okay.
So one will have 200 and then the rest will have
Oh,
156.
it's this,
so-
it's this line here, I
Is there
see,
a way we could
okay.
rotate that?
I rotated before, but
Do you happen to know is that 200 foot, because you're in the RM and the RO, which zone is that derived? Is it the same frontage requirement in both?
they both require.
They both require 200.
And we went with it because the new lot is wholly within the RM, anything,
No.
all the RM requirements would have applied. So let's say that it was different.
Yeah,
It would have been the
you
RM.
would have used RM because
Yeah.
of this. So your basic argument or case is it's a large enough lot that it reasonably should permit two, and you otherwise can meet two, so you want an exception on the frontage so you can get two in there,
Yes,
basically.
yes, correct. If you see this corner right here, this is the maximum to this edge, so that would be the, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the southernmost part of the, or this is south,
That's west, going that way, we have,
okay.
and north, obviously, up to the.
So this would be the southernmost part, right here. And that's the driveway, of course, being right here. In order for us to remain in conforming status with driveways and where we would pop a driveway in up here, the lot line realistically, and again, based on the contour of the land, it would realistically have to be right here. So,
Well, if you moved it, you'd end up with two non-conforming lots.
yes,
so
ma'am, that's correct.
Best to do it the way you've done it.
That's all I have. Any questions we can
Any other
answer?
questions? Jim? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in favor of this appeal? Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in opposition to this appeal? Seeing none, comments from city planner?
I have none.
Thank you. And with that, I'll declare the hearing closed and open it up for comments. Ms. Spector Morgan, you're on deck.
I don't have any concerns about it. I think that it is not going to alter the essential character of the neighborhood being 50 feet short. I think the purpose of frontage requirements are met because there will be safe and sane access to the lot, and it appears to be consistent with the frontage of the surrounding lots. There is no gain to the public from denying the variance, so I don't see that substantial justice would be done by denial of the variance. It's certainly not going to reduce surrounding property values, and I see that it is unique-ish in that if you want to have two lots, you certainly cannot. So I can get there on the hardship criteria.
Thank you. Mark?
I agree with all the above. The applicant has made the case that either one or both lots have to be non-conforming, so.
Andrew?
Yeah, I struggle a little bit with frontage, the concept of frontage in general, because we already have setback requirements and maximum lot coverage requirements, so it doesn't seem like the frontage requirements serve any further purpose in terms of open space. And so I understand they're primarily about access to the lot, in which case 200 feet seems like a lot. You know, I mean, I know emergency vehicles need to get in, but I don't see that there'd be any reason to cleanse. So in this case, I don't think the additional frontage, when all the other requirements are met, really serves any functional purpose. It's still going to be consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and I do think economics isn't a primary factor, but I think it's a reasonable use of this particular lot to be able to put two units on it. So I agree.
Thank you. Jim?
I have nothing to add.
And I agree. So I welcome a motion.
I make a motion to grant the variance from section 28-41C, minimum lot frontage / section 28-41H, table of dimensional regulations, to allow for frontage of 150 feet where 200 feet is required at 227 Garvin's Falls Road, because all of the criteria under RSA 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Seconded.
It's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, the next we have two cases by the same applicant, so I'm going to read them both into the record. 4.3 is North Point Engineering LLC on behalf of Alex and Rachel Woods request approval for a variance from section 2841D3 side yard section 2841H table dimensional regulations to permit a 2.5 foot wide side yard setback where 10 feet to the minimum requirement at tax map lot 6531Z60, addressed at 64 Beacon Street in the neighborhood RN District, not a development of regional impact ZBA 0257-2025. And additionally, case 4.4, same applicant now requests approval for a variance from section 2841E, maximum lot coverage, section 2841H, table of dimensional regulations to permit 63.4% of maximum lot coverage where 50% is the maximum allowed at tax map lot 6531Z60, addressed at 64 Beacon Street neighborhood residential RN district, not a development of regional impact ZBA 0258-2025. First of all, do we swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Great. This time we're going to have Brenda Perkins, who's going to sit in on this case, and we're on deck afterwards. All right, as you testify, please state your name.
My name is Kevin Leonard from North Point Engineering. I'm here with one of the property owners. Rachel and Alec Woods own the property. This is Rachel. And then this is Jeff Leonard from Balance Carpentry, who's proposing to do the garage that we're talking about today.
That was Jeff Leonard and Rachel Woods. Very good. Tell us what you want to do.
So this is the subject lot. This is on the north side of White Park, Beacon Street, and Charles Street. You'll note that this is the RN, Neighborhood Residential Zoning District, which has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. Our lot is 3,048 square feet, or 0.07 acres, and is well undersized from the underlying required lot size, as are most of the lots in the area. Certainly we're also on the corner, so we're kind of tucked in there, but certainly these properties all in through here are pretty tight to each other. There's a lot of existing violations to building setbacks just from kind of observation, looking at the tax maps. It's just off page, but there's a property over here kind of diagonal from us that appears to have had a garage added to it. I've got some photos of that I can show you, just kind of give you an idea of the kind of nature of the neighborhood. And so we do have a short driveway, which is right here. We've got two parking spaces that sit kind of behind the sidewalk and up to, this photo doesn't do a great job, so see if I can So I should mention that we did get a survey of the properties. We got a certified plot plan, done a promised land survey. So these exhibits are based on an actual land survey of the property. So this is a little bit better job of showing what I'm talking about. So those are those 2 parking spaces up there on the north west corner. And they're tight spots. You can see the deck and there's the stairs coming towards the parking spots to the west. And the existing deck is 6.6 feet to the property line, and where 10 feet is the required side setback. Down here at the we got a summary. So we have, like I mentioned, 10,000 square feet is the required zoning. We have 3,048. 80 feet is the frontage. We have 67.8, and that's on Charles Street. Front setback, we're at 6.2 versus the 15. Everything's just tight. And we have lot coverage at 50% is required, and we have 62.6 in the existing condition. I'm going to scroll to, so this is spun the building. Beacon is over here. The park would be to your right, and this is Charles Street. So that deck comes out this door, and there's a deck lying kind of in this area. We're trying to basically maintain those 2 existing parking spaces that exist off of Charles, and then put a 1-car garage in over the footprint of the existing deck. And that does require a further encroachment on the side setback. I did notice in our narrative that we missed. I just want to clarify that it's 3.5 feet to the building, 2.5 feet to the roof line in this corner here. And there's some inconsistencies in the narrative, and I just want to correct that up for the record. So we're looking for that relief on the side setback, and we will be also needing the relief for a minor increase in impervious area, lot coverage. That increases, if I scroll down here. So this is the proposed condition. We still have the 2 parking spaces as you kind of have the existing condition. We're kind of gaining a spot by having the garage built. And you'll see that this labels the 3.5 feet to the corner of the building and 2.5 feet to the roof line. I don't know if there's anything else to add there. There is a minor increase in impervious or lot coverage going from 60, we're going to 63.4. So would you like to go read through the criteria? Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because granting of the variances would be allowed for the construction of the proposed garage, which will create 1 additional off-street parking space on the subject parcel. This is not contrary to the public interest, but rather in support of the public interest. There's no reason to believe that the minor encroachment into the side yard setback would have any impact on the public at large, and a minor increase in lot coverage of approximately 24 square feet of no material impact whatsoever to the public. Number 2, if the variance were granted, the ordinance is observed because granting the variances would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood by allowing a 1-car garage to be constructed on the subject parcel. It will promote additional off-street parking, which is directly within the spirit of the ordinance. Granting the variance would be substantial justice because granting the variances would allow the applicant to proceed with the construction of the garage, which is a very appropriate and reasonable use of the land. And lastly, on number 4, if the variances were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because the majority of the houses in the subject neighborhood, including this subject house, were constructed over 100 years ago before the dimensional standards of the current zoning ordinance were in effect. As a result, the majority of the existing lots in the neighborhood are substandard in terms of lot size, lot frontage, lot coverage, and yard areas. It is a very dense neighborhood that does not at all fit within the current dimensional standard requirements of the zoning ordinance. And looking at just the subject lot and its 4 abutting parcels, the average lot size is approximately 3,500 square feet. Whereas the minimum lot size requirement in the RN districts is 10,000 square feet. None of these surrounding lots are in compliance with any of the noted dimensional requirements. Requested variance involve slight increases to existing nonconformities, which will have not material impact on the surrounding properties given the existing nature of the neighborhood. And an unnecessary hardship. The subject parcel is an existing non non-conforming lot and is substandard with respect to minimum lot area, minimum lot frontage, minimum front yard, minimum side yard, and maximum lot coverage. At only 3,048 square feet in total lot size, is the smallest lot in a very dense neighborhood of undersized lots. In addition, it's a corner lot, which further restricts its usable yard area. For these reasons, it does not stand as unique. It does stand out as unique in comparison to other properties in the area. The dimensional standards imposed by the current ordinance on such a substandard lot that has existed for over a century creates an unnecessary hardship on the lot. The minimum required side yard setback and a maximum allowable lot coverage for the current RN district are intended to be applied to lots that have the minimum lot area of 10,000 square feet. The subject parcel only has 30% of that minimum lot area, making it impractical and unfair to apply those same dimensional standards to it. It is clear that there is no fair and substantial relationship between the intended purpose of the ordinance and the specific application of the subject property in this instance, especially considering that the property has existed in harmony with the surrounding properties for such a long period of time, and the proposed addition of one-car garage is more than reasonable. I have a couple photos of the neighborhood, which if I plug into this and show those. So that's the survey I mentioned. These are the exhibits we just went through. So there we are on the corner lot. You can see that it's a pretty dense neighborhood. This is the northerly end of the building. Those are the two parking spaces on the existing driveway with a sidewalk in front of it. You can see the deck there, and there's steps coming off the deck towards us. This is kind of a better shot of kind of on the neighbor's frontage to the north. Again, we got small vehicles parking in front, kind of impeded by the steps that are coming off the deck. We're siting the face of the garage to basically maintain those spaces so that we don't lose any spaces there. And then diagonally across the street, this is the property I wanted to point out to you. You know, clearly this is between 5 and 7. This garage was added at some point in time, and neither of these properties are meeting any setback within the zone. So I just thought those immediate properties were relevant.
Yeah.
And then I do have the two adjacent abutting properties have basically they've been the team has spoken to each one of them, and they've sort of saying they have no objection to the proposed. So there's two signed certifications which I could turn into you on the two properties.
Very good. Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Besides the one house across the street, are there other houses that of similar characteristics that have a one-car garage that you know of?
I have some.
Yes, there are, specifically on Beacon Street.
Okay,
About 7 or 8 houses down. There are 3 in a row.
thank you.
This helps a little bit. It's a little zoomed out on the tax map, so it shows the property I showed you is right here, which is 5 and 7. But all of these lots are like, they're just to all the properties everywhere. I just thought that was helpful. It kind of shows you a greater neighborhood.
17 Charles Street as well has a very similar garage and proportions.
Okay.
Is parking pretty tight in this neighborhood, especially when the
It
park's
can be when
being
there's
used?
events at White Park.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this application? And is there anyone who'd like to speak against this application? Seeing none, does the city planner have any comments?
I do
All right, I'll declare the hearing closed and open it up to comments. Andrew, you're on.
I think it's a very reasonable use. I think that, we've found having a one-car garage in this neighborhood, or most neighborhoods, is a very reasonable use of property, and it gets an extra car off the street, and they're doing it with as minimal change to the density as they really can. I mean, it's obviously not going to be a conforming lot under any situation, so I don't think it really changes the character of the neighborhood, so I'd be in favor of approval.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna create a lot more density on that lot. But the hand is replacing the deck, which adds to density there. I'm not sure, I don't need to lean into it if they had to come here to get approvals for the deck, because it seems to me non-conforming as well. So I'm getting to yes on this.
Leading yes. Okay.
I'm open to persuasion.
That leads us to Laura's next.
I'm at yes. I think that obviously having a garage is a reasonable use. It's increasing the lot coverage by a relatively minimal amount. It is bringing it closer to the property line, but only by 4 feet. And it is a small lot in a densely packed neighborhood, so it's not going to alter the essential character of the neighborhood. I don't see how it would diminish surrounding property values. I don't see the gain to the public from denying it. And again, I can get to hardship. I think it's all very nicely summed up in their substantial and their diminution of surrounding property values in that paragraph. I think they sort of hit all the criteria nicely in that paragraph.
Brenda?
I agree. I don't see a concern with this, especially where it's mostly occupying space the deck was already occupying.
Would one motion suffice since they're worded almost identically for both variances, or do you want motion repeated twice?
It does, as long as you read both.
Both parts.
Yeah.
All right. So who would like to make a motion?
I can do it.
Okay.
I make a motion to grant the variance from section 28-4-1D3 side yard setbacks / section 28-41H table of dimensional regulations to allow for a 2.5-foot side yard setback at 64 Beacon Street where 10 feet is required, and to grant the variance from section 28-41E maximum lot coverage / section 28-41H table of dimensional regulations to allow for 63.4 maximum lot coverage at 64 Beacon Street where 50% maximum coverage is allowed, because all of the criteria under RSA 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of fact.
Second that.
That's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion on both variance requests. Mark, you're on for the next case. Again, we have two requests by the same applicant, so I'm going to read them both into the record. Hinckley, case 4.5, Hinckley, Allen, and Snyder LLP on behalf of Casada LLC request approval for variance from section 2869B1, permitted building signs to permit 4 wall signs where 3 wall signs are the maximum allowed at tax map lot 611Z38/2, addressed at 287 Loudon Road in the Gateway Performance GWP District, not a development of regional impact, ZBA 02592025, and a request of approval for variance from section 2869B1A on area equal to 1 square foot per linear foot of building frontage to permit 123 feet of signage where 58.5 feet is a maximum allowed at tax map 611Z38/2, addressed at 287 Loudon Road in the Gateway Performance GWP District, not a development of regional impact, ZBA 06212025. So, do we swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
For the record, please state your name as you testify.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm Christine Dieter from Hinckley Allen on behalf of Casada LLC and Raising Canes. With me this evening are Michelle Robinson from Michelle Robinson Design and Jennifer Squires from AGI. So this is a project you've seen before. We were here last year seeking a parking variance, which was allowed, and we've also been before the planning board for site plan approval, which was also granted, and we've been working very closely over the past year with Ms. Skinner and her team to get that wrapped up. I think we've just about got that completed. So we're here tonight seeking two variances with respect to signage. One is to have 4 wall signs where 3 are permitted, and then the second is to have 123 square feet of signage where 58.5 square feet are permitted. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michelle.
Do we have samples of the 4 signs,
them.
of wall signs?
Yeah, here I can pass out hard copies.
Oh my God, actually brought signs.
Do you have them in your office there, Nick?
That would be impressive.
Nick, do you have that?
I do have that, but it's only one. They said they have 4 wall signs. I'm just
They're
trying
all
to
the same.
for location? Okay. Thank you.
And they did email me something today that I forwarded.
Is it, it's just a preliminary question, when you say 4, is that 4 all for Raising Canes, or that's 4 including the whole, that's, your sign would make it 4 for the whole plaza?
4 for Raising Canes.
4 for Raising Canes?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, and we included in the application, which hopefully will have a master signage plan, which includes the signs for the entire project.
So it's one on each side.
I see, okay.
That's correct, 4 signs.
That's
for
what
the
I wasn't
building.
clear on.
Oh,
Thank you.
got it, okay.
Proceed with your testimony.
My name is Michelle Robinson, and I'm the Property Development Manager for this project for Raising Canes. The deck that you have in front of you is one that I put together to help us walk through the request. It did not make it electronically, I guess. So the first page is showing you approximately where the building is located on the site, and that's a Google Map image that I've taken off the internet. So you can see the relationship of the building to the Aldi's and also to the street, Loudon Road.
I just need to clarify, is Mark Davey the alternate sitting in on this case?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is correct. Mark.
If we go to the second page, I've included renderings of the building that we developed. And I'm providing these so that you can understand sort of the size of the building. It's about 21 feet tall. On the side that faces Loudon Road and Old Loudon Road, it's about 58.5 feet long. On the 2 sides that are perpendicular to that, it is about 62.5 feet tall, long, 21 feet tall. So front view, and the signs that we're here for tonight are the oval signs, that say Raising Canes. I've included a rear view as
Can I
well as
interrupt?
a
I'm
site
just
view.
Just a little lost in this. So this is a freestanding building that has not yet been constructed?
Correct.
Okay.
We're just wrapping up the permitting process.
Yep, I kind of, you remember you being here for the parking, so.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So I've provided an overall plan of the building, just so you can see the relationship primarily to Loudon Road. The building is, the patio is about 120 feet back off the road, so it's, the point is we're set back, the building is small. We've got Aldi to our one side, we don't yet have our neighbor to the other side. Don't know who that'll be, but someday there'll be a neighbor. I've provided some views, again, from Google Map, showing the approach. And then once if you flip to the third image, this image is actually taken from inside the current parking lot, and our building would be just off to the side here. So again, we're set back off the road quite a bit. and the grassy knoll is approximately where our building will be located. And so views coming back from the other side, and then we have a view, if you keep skipping forward, we have a view from Old Loudon Road. The second to last page in the deck is the elevations. And we're here tonight for the 4 signs, one on each elevation, Raising Cane's. The 4 signs are important to us. It's consistent with our brand. We're new to the market here, and we'd like to enter in with our full complement of signage. The one on the front is obviously it's the front. The one on the right side is over an entry. The one on the back we think is visible from Old Loudon Road, and the one to the left, which is at the drive-through, actually will help orient people as they're coming in from Loudon Road to the southern end of the site. There is no direct, like you don't leave the Raising Cane's and go out to Loudon Road. You leave Raising Cane's and you go to the left or the right, and then you're out. So we feel it's important to help orient people to the building as they're entering into the shopping center. Go through the narrative or the...
Yeah, I'm happy to. So we laid out in the narrative the 5 criteria for the variance. I'll go through those quickly. First, that it's not contrary to the public interest. These signs, as we propose them, will not change the character of the surrounding area. This is a commercial area and already contains several restaurants of a similar nature and character. So what we've proposed here is the one additional sign and a relatively modest increase in the overall square footage, which is really to accommodate those different signs, is going to be in keeping what's already in the area. And you can see some of those signs on the visuals that Michelle walked you through. Other than that, the size that we're talking about in that 4th sign, they're otherwise in conformance with what the ordinance requires. For those same reasons, the spirit of the ordinance is preserved. We're in the Gateway Performance District, and so that was established to provide for well-designed, large-scale commercial development along arterial streets at entrances to the city. So again, this is a predominantly commercial area. This is a commercial operation. These signs are going to facilitate its operation. As you may recall from when we were here on the parking variance, a large portion of Raising Cane's business is drive-through, and that ability to capture cars as they're going by, traveling on their route to whatever their final destination may be, is important. And here we have the 2 frontages, one on Loudon Road and one on Old Loudon Road, and so it's important to be able to capture the cars coming in at all the various angles. Substantial justice is done in this situation. There's not going to be any deleterious effect to the public. It's important, particularly where we have these substantial setbacks and differing setbacks from the roads. We want to make sure people can see the signs and they're not straining to see them as they're approaching. And that's why we have the sizes that we do of these proposed signs. And so again, there's not going to be a harm to the public from this. The value of the surrounding properties will not be diminished. Again, this is a commercial area and a commercial establishment that hopefully will attract customers to the area. I know there's a lot of hype that gets generated when a new Raising Cane's comes to a city, and we plan for that. But this will be a benefit to the surrounding area. And then with respect to the unique characteristics of the property, I've alluded to those, and Michelle's alluded to those already, but here we have the frontage on both Loudon and Old Loudon Road. In addition to which, this is a parcel that has been subdivided into 3 land condominiums. So the Raising Cane's is on the number 2 land condominium. Aldi is on the first one, and then the third is still to be developed. But there are certain, it affects the spacing and the access points from Loudon Road, and really increases the need for visibility on site in addition to off site so that cars know where they're going once they get on site and can travel there appropriately and safely. And that's what the signage on the four sides of the building helps to convey. Additionally, as I said, the distance from the frontage, from Loudon in particular, affects the need for the size of the signs that we've proposed. I think without the variance, we would only be able to get one of these Raising Cane's signs on the building, notwithstanding that 3 are permitted. And so that's why the increase in the overall square footage is required. And then, as I said, the signs that we've proposed, as you can see on some of the images from the Google Earth that we've provided, are in keeping with the nature and the scope of the signs on other buildings in the area, so there's not going to be a negative impact either to the appearance or aesthetic of the surrounding area. And here, the proposed use and the signage is reasonable. This is a permitted use within the zone and has already gone through, as I said, the site plan approval process, so we're well on the way here. So I think that addresses the criteria. I don't know if Michelle or Jennifer, you have anything else you want to add to that?
I think for reference, it's important, well, might not be important. The Aldi signs, for reference, are about 76 square feet each. There's 2 of those on their entrance, so 152 square feet. So I agree. I don't think we're contrary to the intent and the spirit of the ordinance.
Wait, how many total signs does Aldi have?
They have 2.
Just two.
On
Both.
the building.
And what was the combined square footage approximately? I didn't hear that.
152.
152. Thank you.
Do they have one on the back of their building?
They do not.
Are your signs lit?
Yes,
All 4?
yes.
And this is separate from the directory sign is not included in these numbers, right? That's a separate allowance?
That's
right?
correct, yes.
So, I think I've struggled with this before on these land condominiums. Is the number of signs calculated based on the total lot, or is the number of signs calculated based on each condo unit has its own allowance?
You'll have to give me a few minutes to.
It's based on like the size of the building.
Based on the size of each building?
Each building.
Yeah.
And because there's only one tenant in this building, they get the full size. I think they
okay.
struggled when there's been multi-tenants in the building.
Right. So, okay, that makes sense. So you have your own requirement that only applies to your building, separate from Aldi and
For the
separate
building, freestanding signs are a different, so
They're-
I'll look at that.
they're not requesting anything about freestanding signs, right? They're only
So-
requesting
That's correct.
on the building.
When you say freestanding, you mean the pylon that's out front?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So
So that's
that-
not part of that's in compliance.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so it's existing today. We will submit a permit to add a Raising Cane's.
Replacement face.
But, okay, that shouldn't need a variance, right? That would just be
Right.
a
Correct, yeah.
planning board thing,
That
like a approval of the design. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Are we working with just one frontage, or because you're on 2, you have frontage on 2 streets, do they get double frontage consideration?
It's not based on street frontage, it's based on building.
Building, okay, but they have
Yeah,
frontage
and
on 2 streets, so,
The building only
that
has
matters.
frontage on one street.
okay.
Yeah, I can recall we have made some accommodations for buildings that have an entrance on the front and the back.
Yeah.
This one
But
does
this
not
doesn't
have a
an
back
entrance on the
entrance.
back.
Should we have
It
a,
has road visibility, but not
right.
a formal.
Sort
you
of.
can't get
It's
in
got the
from Old
fence.
Loudon Road?
No,
can't get
it's
into that.
fenced on
No, you-
purpose.
You have to go down to the Chipotle.
Oh, right.
And past the Dunkin' Donuts.
This would be similar to
But we have entrances for
malls down here,
humans
but
on
you have
2 fronts.
access and visibility from I-93.
The highway.
Yeah. We have highway visibility, but
Yep.
not access.
And
Yeah,
correct
I'm-
me if I'm wrong, but didn't we approve a big residential development to go in right over there? Behind it, in that big open wetlands area,
To the north,
right?
there's residential to the north.
And there's multifamily going in right there?
or is it a senior housing?
Something.
Casino.
What?
That was a
I'd
different
have to
intersection.
know the address.
Oh, the.
Right? Didn't we
Yeah,
have a variance
I
for
feel
in there?
like something.
There's something that's been approved at 33 Old Loudon Road, if that's the address. It hasn't been constructed.
So is that further up? Because this is the corner that's to Portsmouth Street, and when you come around that corner, there are already houses on both sides. It's hard to see it with the tree growth, but
Okay.
this is all already developed on Portsmouth
Okay.
Street, so I think that's
Maybe it's further
further
down.
up
Okay.
towards the end of the other end of Old Loudon Road.
Okay.
Nick, if I can just, so I'm struggling with getting to yes in the 4 cents because I don't think signage on the Old Loudon Road side is appropriate because there's no entrance there. In fact, it could be confusing, my view. You guys are the professionals, but I'm not sure it's necessary for public safety or providing information about access. And I just have concerns that it's not in keeping with the neighborhood on Old Loudon Road. I don't think any of the other buildings on Loudon Road have signage on Old Loudon Road.
So, just down from us is a very small strip center where there's a T-Mobile and Vision Works, and they both have signs on the front and also on Old Loudon Road.
So they have signage that faces Old Loudon Road?
Yeah, if
Do they have
you,
access?
It's in the picture.
It looks like they do, but I'm gonna guess that's for deliveries, because that is a multi-tenant building,
Is that the,
and those signs might have been
is
compliant.
that the Rap City? I think, is that the plaza with the
Same
Rap
plaza,
City?
yes. Yeah.
But that's right,
As you
I
drive
think
in
you
here.
can get out to Old Loudon
You
Road.
can.
No,
That's
you
the
cannot.
only way. Well, on this side.
I thought I've done
Over
it.
here?
You can drive
No.
right out there.
Well, you can off-road out, but,
You can't?
no, you have to go
I thought I did.
around.
You might have.
So the road is between the end of that center and the Chipotle?
Right.
Yeah.
And the number of signs isn't based on the amount of frontage anyway. So each building is allowed a maximum of 3 building signs. So they have one building, the ordinance allows them a maximum of 3 signs.
But I think,
So they're requesting a variance for the 4th sign, and it doesn't matter about their frontage for the
other than,
number.
I think Jim's point though was, I think part of their pitch was that they had this other frontage.
Yeah.
So in requesting the variance, correct us if we're wrong, but I thought they were making that part of the case.
So if you're on Old Loudon Road, you'll be able to see the building to orient yourself, to get off of Old Loudon Road and onto Loudon Road.
Oh, right.
But if you're on Loudon Road, driving either way on Loudon Road, you're gonna see the side signs too.
Even if you're, on Old Loudon Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
think,
with Jim, I'm having a hard time getting to yes on that back sign.
because I think the people on Old Loudon Road, and it's obviously probably a touchy subject for them, but they'd prefer to keep it, the people on there not knowing, not driving around looking for Raising Cane.
Right, especially if it's a lit sign.
How about if we made that one unlit?
Would be better.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, with the other strip mall, they only have a front and a back.
Right.
They don't have side signage, so having a back one, it mainly would be for deliveries to show up to the right
Yeah.
unit. Where this one, like you said, you'll be able to see it from the sides.
I don't have a problem with the square footage, because our square footage restrictions are ridiculous, but the number of signs, I
We're working
just,
on
yeah, I can't get to the back
So
one.
we'll continue, do we have
Oh,
any
yeah,
other
we-
questions of the applicant?
So
No, we'll let them address what we said, since, so you can.
Well,
go
see
ahead,
if there's anyone from the public that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And yes, Laura, I pulled up the GIS, and 33 Old Loudon Road is where the site plan has been approved for a multifamily.
Okay.
Well, it's actually elderly
Okay.
housing.
Is that right behind that, between?
It's direct behind.
Oh, it is.
33 Old
Okay.
Loudon Road is
Right.
immediately behind.
But it'll be detached units, or it's like a,
So why don't we wait?
yeah.
Let's
sorry.
just wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in favor of this application? Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in opposition? Now, city planner, comment.
Oh, I don't have any comments. I was just following up on that project, residential project that has been approved. It's not in construction, though.
All right, so with that,
And
I'll
I have a
hearing
question for
closed,
him.
and then-
So I think what would be, the building itself would be allowed 3 signs.
Yes.
The applicant wanted to put all 3 signs on Old Loudon Road.
They could do that.
It wouldn't
They
matter.
could do that,
Yeah.
except for the fact that they've represented us to us tonight, that it was going to be 1 on each side.
Right.
So, but
Yeah, and
Leave that
and
to code
again,
enforcement.
it doesn't matter, because the requirement is 3 signs on the building.
Right.
So they can put them anywhere they want on the building.
Right, but if they get a variance, they have to then comply with their representations. But if they didn't get a variance, they could put it anywhere on the building, right?
Yep.
Any other discussion? So,
So I just want to detail in the variance criteria as to why I would not be inclined to grant that fourth
So I
variance.
think, why don't we take these 2 variances separately?
Yeah.
For a motion. So
Yeah.
let's do the first one on the 4 signs.
Okay. I would move to deny the variance for the 4th sign. I believe it would alter the essential character of the neighborhood. While there are a couple of signs on the back of the larger plaza for T-Mobile and, I guess, VisionWorks, the other stores in that plaza do not appear to have rear signs. I do not believe those are lit. And Aldi, which is a standalone store similar to this one, does not have a rear sign on Old Loudon Road. And there is no entrance to this property from Old Loudon Road. So a sign on that side, I don't believe is either necessary, nor do I think it might be appropriate, because it might be distracting and confusing for drivers. Plus, given that that abuts an entirely residential neighborhood, and we know that there's additional residences going in there, I think that it would be distracting and not appropriate, abutting a residential neighborhood. Again, with their 3 signs, if that's where they choose to put them, that's where they choose to put them. But I just, if it's the plan, I don't think that that is consistent with the neighborhood. I don't think it's going to diminish surrounding property values, but we don't have any evidence on that, and we do need to have some evidence on that. I think there is a gain to the general public from denying that 4th sign. Again, consistent with keeping that neighborhood behind, off Old Loudon Road residential and not commercial. And I don't see the hardship. It is a freestanding building. They're going to have plenty of signage. Again, they can have 3 signs on 3 different sides of the building, and if you're driving on Old Loudon Road, you will be able to see the side signage from either direction. So I don't see the hardship in the property, or in, to the extent that the hardship of the owner is relevant, which it's not. I don't see that hardship either. So I would move to deny that variance.
I'll move to second, but just with an observation. I don't know enough. Your motion included some observations about signage on other buildings. I just don't think I have enough information to,
They gave us a picture. That's the only reason I said anything.
on the Loudon Road side.
Oh, Old Loudon Road.
On the old,
That's
the
on
back
there,
end.
yeah. That is the.
So with that, I'll second the motion.
Now, any discussion?
Just expanding on that, or making, that we're not, as has been stated, they can put signs on the Old Loudon Road side if they want. The code doesn't prohibit them from doing that, but in their narrative, they explicitly cited the desire to put a sign on each wall, which was what gives them the 4th. So it's that line of reasoning that I think Inspector Morgan is indicating we don't, or at least she doesn't, and I agree with her, find persuasive as a reason to allow a 4th sign.
Okay, Mark, any comments? Any thoughts?
No further comment?
Great. Let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of denying the request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion's been denied 5-0. Now we've got a second variance request in terms of size of signage.
So, does anyone know how much square footage is in each sign?
76?
76?
Is that what you said?
30.75.
Okay, now I gotta do math.
So they asked for 120, so they're basically roughly 30 times 4. They asked for 123, and they're allowed 58 and a half.
So what
So
they
you can do math.
really need is about 93,
What's that?
just under 93.
What's that? Say that again? What-
Just under 93 square feet.
So I'll say
Oh, if they
93.
only have 3
Yeah.
signs,
Because
right?
they only have 3 at 30.75, so
Right.
0.75 is 2.25, so it'd be 92.25 is what they would need for the 3 signs,
So,
where only 50.
so since the request is for 123 feet, do we modify that, or do we leave it as
I
is?
don't
No, we
think
need to
can.
modify that.
Can we modify it?
I think we have to modify that.
I mean, can we do it, or do they have to reapply?
Does it have to be a straight denial or a
Is-
straight approval?
You could approve it with a condition.
Approve it with the condition that it's
That it's-
different than what than we've approved.
Now subject to 3 signs.
I mean, I speaking for myself only, these, the allowable size of the signs in total is tricky, especially in an area like Loudon Road, where, let's face it, I mean, the primary purpose of the signs is distinguishing yourself from the competition. So we've approved many instances additional signage on Loudon Road, so it would be unfair to not approve it for, a new.
Well, let me give it a shot, and if they don't like the way I do it, they can file a motion for a hearing. How's that?
Sure.
One other quick thought is, you do have all these next door that's 150 square inches or feet, whatever it is, for signage with only 2 signs. So those, if you think of that building and the size of the signs, even if you just approved this as is and they met that 120, it would still be 3 smaller signs than the 2 that you see
Right, I mean,
on all these.
I personally would be inclined to approve it, and if they wanted to use it all and go from 30 to 40 feet per sign, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think it would be in the character of the neighborhood, but I'm just speaking for myself.
Well, you make the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, mine's easier, because I'm not conditioning it, so we'll see if people agree. I would move, let me find the,
David?
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Something we might want to add
So,
to
I
that.
never gave him a chance for rebuttal.
We never gave him a chance for that, so yeah, we can.
We step forward.
No, please, Ron.
No, go
I
ahead.
think it might help you with this idea, if you'll take a look at the logo that's there. It's actually an oval in shape and not a square, where Aldi's, of course, is a square, and your calculations for most of your signs are consideration
Based
of
on
a
a square.
square,
Right.
and this is an oval. So the sign area of the oval is 24.14.
Thank
So
you for
look
the
at that.
clarification.
Oh,
Might help you.
interesting.
Yeah.
But that's not how your ordinance measures. That's why
Right.
we're telling you it's
Gotcha.
30.75.
Thank you.
If we give you 123 square feet for 3 signs, that'll work for you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's what we're talking about doing. Okay.
I tend to agree with Andrew's take on this.
So-
Don't you, Jim?
Yes.
Do we seem to have it?
And
Brenda?
there's no math.
And there's no math.
So
Genius.
Didn't like my math nurse.
I'll make a motion to grant the variance from section, I'll try to go slower, 28-6-9B1, an area equal to 1 square foot per linear foot of building frontage to allow for 123 feet of signage at 287 Loudon Road, where 58.5 feet is the maximum allowed. Because all the criteria under RSA 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, and I move to adopt the applicant's proposed findings as the board's findings of facts as to this variance.
I'll second, and I will add, I think it's appropriate, given the fact that this is, because there's a shared curb cut for this property, to add to driver safety as they find their way around the parking lot.
Concur? Yeah? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Yep.
By the way, if you guys weren't aware of it, this property was featured on Shark Tank a while ago.
Really?
Was it?
Yeah,
Shark Tank?
yeah.
For the chicken?
He was on Shark Tank. That's one of the,
What? The,
The chicken company or the?
the founder.
Raising.
really?
Neat.
Sorry about that.
That's cool.
Okay, Brenda, you're on
Did
for
they
the next
invest because of
case.
the foresight?
For this
You get
one.
voice.
Mark, you're on deck for the case afterwards. Yep. All right, case 4.7, Kevin Cheney on behalf of Parish Hill Properties LLC, excuse me, requests approval for variance from section 2841D3, side yard slash section 2841H, table of dimensional regulations to permit a 30-foot side yard on both sides where 40 feet is the minimum requirement at tax map 52Z16 addressed at 83 West Parish Road in the open space residential RO district ZBA 0260-2025.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Hello.
All righty, do you swear to tell truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, tell us your name for the record and then tell us what you want to do.
Kevin Cheney, Parish Hill Properties is the company building this house. We're seeking, as you said, a variance for the setbacks, the side setbacks. On this map, it's right about here where
Is this for this case?
it is. I think we're gonna.
And I believe it's everything that he submitted. I mean, I see findings in there,
Yep.
and that's in your packet.
I didn't see the view photos in
It's-
the original.
I didn't have
the photos, so
everything, but the package is the same, which I think we'll get to.
Could you just talk a little bit louder or more into the mic?
Sorry.
That's okay, you can pull it forward too if that.
Yeah, so we're just looking for, it's basically the placement on the property for this house. The front section of this property is a little bit wet, and the incline happens pretty quickly right off the road. In the pictures, which we could look at.
You just try to talk it a little into the mic a little
Yeah.
more.
I'm sorry.
Way,
Just quiet.
way closer.
You can yell at us, just raise your voice.
Yep. So, this property is a little wet, and the incline in the front of the property is going to make it hard to build, and also make it unappeasable location to build on. It almost offers like a front walkout house, which
Okay.
just make very tall look from the road, which is not anything like anything in the neighborhood. They're all very country setting type houses. So I'm looking to build on the far back section of this property where it's a little more level, but this property narrows quite a bit in the 300 feet right here. In 300 feet it narrows in 110 feet, so it's very acute, I guess. So, and also in this right there, I'm trying to put the house here to keep it out of the view of the neighbors on the westerly side, and I'm also trying to tuck it into the corner to keep it out of the view of the backyard neighbor.
So it's not gonna stick out at all behind the other two houses that the lot extends? It's gonna be straight back from the
Right,
road?
it'd be right about here, so
Okay.
as in some of these pictures, you can show you that.
Yeah, I can see it on the map, which is good.
Yep. And again, this is basically to stay with the setting of the neighborhood, is to do a farm country house. It's pretty narrow there. I think we have 54 feet to be within the 40-foot setbacks. I don't want to do a small boxy house. I want to keep it with the farmer's porch to match the neighborhood. So that's what I'm seeking. And the picture one here shows the property line has been done by Bernier, so we have all that info, and I pulled stakes over, so it shows the approximate location of the house. You can see the stakes in the picture. If you look close down in the front, about 50 feet, there's two more stakes. That is where the house would fit without a variance. And
So, go ahead, Mark.
Which of the photos is where it
Oh, I'm
fits
sorry,
without
no.
the variance?
what's that?
Which of the photos is the one where it would fit without the variance?
It's number one.
Oh, okay.
But it's just, there's kind of two stakes out in front of the red box.
Can you show us there where it would fit? Just so I have, with the pointer where it would fit
approximately
without the variance?
Right about here.
So it's almost right next to this
This
house.
one actually shows you the best,
Yeah, I like that.
because the yellow shows you
Yeah, I see
where
it,
it
but-
could go, and the purple is where he wants to put it.
So we're trying to keep another view of all the neighbors. So everybody still has a nice view.
I have a hard time seeing how you would have more of a setback up there. Am I missing something?
Because he wants to put it here in the purple, and that's the setback. This yellow is where it's free and clear.
It looks like it has more to do with the orientation of it is what's making the difference.
No, it's very, right here is 110 feet across,
And
I
it's,
believe, and down here it's 225 feet, so it's very.
and he's only looking to go from a 40 to a 30.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
right.
Which the septic plan shows that too, if you have that. So it's, I believe the front.
So it's because where you're putting it is like in the narrowest portion, close to the
It is.
narrowest portion of the lot.
It
Like
is.
You're right in that kind of choke point there.
Right
so
in
to
here,
speak.
yep, right
Right.
about there. But it has the best view. Again, down here, it's a little bit of slope. So it's either, we're gonna have to fill in the yard, and I don't wanna, diminish on this, bury stone walls on the property. I wanna keep everything pretty natural. There's stone walls along here. So if I move the house here, we're gonna have about a 8-foot fill if I don't wanna do a walkout front yard.
What's the actual lot size?
5 acres.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
That is an awkward shape.
It is.
Did you say the front part of the property, we don't want to put the houses wet?
It's not wetlands, but it's definitely drainage from all the neighbors' yards come down to this one section right here. So,
Did you see the letter from the abutter?
I did.
How do you respond to that?
So that's in these pictures. So picture 2, we're looking up the property line. It shows where I want the house and the butter out back. And I think this is more about the location of the house on the property. Closest point to closest point is 160 feet. So it's not very close at all, in my opinion. So I think it's 110 feet just to the property line, and then another 50 or so to her porch corner.
110 feet to her property line?
To the property line, in a straight line from the very closest point of my garage to her closest corner of her porch.
Oh, not to the property line, to
Right,
her structure.
straight line, right.
Because it's obviously, you're saying it would be 30 feet to
Structure.
her property line.
No, 30 feet sideways, but in a straight line to her house, it's 110 feet until it hits the property line.
Oh, sure.
I actually have room I could.
In a line to her
I
house.
could go
I
back
see.
more.
Okay.
Which is what I'm afraid of if I am not allowed to build this house, and I build a smaller house, and the garage will have to go out back, so it puts it even closer to her.
You're saying it'd be closer to her if you complied? Is that what you're saying?
No, it'd be closer if I complied, yeah. Right.
If you built it where there's 40, where you could get a 40
No,
feet.
that'll be further away, but I would build a different house. It would end up being closer to her, because a 50-foot wide house at the garage out back. So it's,
So you're saying if you complied with the setbacks, you would be closer to her? Is that what you're saying?
with
Do I
this
hear you right?
particular house,
Right.
with this
house.
style house.
Okay.
So I think that's mainly what we're looking for. It's to keep the, characteristics of the neighborhood, farmland and farmhouse, stone walls. We want to keep all that. We want to keep the views. I actually did some tree work there, which I did some for her as well. And that opened up a view that now I think doesn't want to be lost.
So which is the direction to the view, the beautiful
Right
view?
out here.
That way?
That way, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Okay.
here, we're
Across
gonna be
the
looking out the view. I took down a bunch of trees here, which is on her property. So as you get the view, I took down some trees here. So this neighbor has a better view. I have a better view, and now she has a better view.
Because of trees you took down on your lot?
Yeah, my lot and her lot.
Wait, your lot and her, you took trees down on her
Yeah,
lot?
Yep, yeah, we met, she wanted some trees down for a better view.
Oh,
so we took those down too, yeah. So it's mainly, if this house is what I build there, then I would need a variance. It's about 10 feet on her side, and it's at an angle of 4 to 10 feet on the other side, which is on the septic plan. So I guess that's it.
Well, I was just thinking, I don't have any questions, no. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I don't think so.
Down the line? Are we good?
Good. I want to see if anyone else has anything to say.
Great, thank you very much. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this bill, this application? So I was at the State House today.
Hello.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, state your name and tell us what you'd like us to know.
Joseph Kennard, and we are butter at 85 West Parish Road, the little house that you see. It's up there. And we don't have opposition to the 30-foot setback.
Questions? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in favor? Is there anyone who'd like to be heard in opposition to the request? Please step forward.
I have some pictures that I didn't submit with the letter. Can I pass these around? I'm sorry, I know this makes it kind of a pain. There's 9 copies there. I just need one actually. Thank you.
He is, yeah.
Not used to this. A lot of power.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
You just need to get your
Where's your
bow tie.
gavel? Isn't he supposed to have a gavel?
No, it's got good and plenty in here. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Please state your name.
My name's Kaylee Howard.
Ms. Howard, tell us what you'd like us to know about this case.
So I'm the big bad of butter in the back. I have this log cabin, which I just purchased last month, so I apologize for the late submission, but I only recently became aware of the application.
And this is a letter
so
you submitted to us,
I
right?
submitted a letter this afternoon. I don't know if you guys have had time to review it
We haven't.
yet.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have a
So,
hard copy. Let me just read
a
it.
little background. I knew Kevin before this. I like him a lot. Think he's a great guy. I feel bad even being here, speaking out against this. But the proposed location of the house, obviously well over the setback, but further to the right that he builds, especially close to my property, it will definitely block the view. The way I'm kind of viewing it is, and this isn't all about view either, but the way I'm viewing it is if I put my hand in front of your face like this, obviously you can't see around it. If it's further away at a lower elevation, less of a chance of it obstructing. And additionally, I've walked the property with him a couple times. We tried to resolve this beforehand. But I became increasingly concerned when he cleared this side yard here, or rather the backyard in this first picture. So if you look to the right of the cabin, my property line kind of angles back that way. You can see it on the map. But where he's proposing to put the house, that's now their backyard, which is literally directly next to my porch. It's all just very clustered, very cramped.
So, because I don't think we're looking at it,
Oh,
can
I'm
we-
sorry.
That's
Yep.
okay,
Let me, is
So
there
you're-
access to my letter on here or anything?
your lot is the other
letter?
side.
No, there's not.
Go back. Oh, sorry. Stop there. I'm right here. This is me.
Okay.
He wants to put the house somewhere right in here, kind of where the bend starts. He's cleared pretty much all of this, a little bit over my line actually. I do want to clarify, he did remove some trees down here for me. He offered, I thought that was great. I took him up on it. I appreciate it, Kevin. So he did open up the view for everyone, which is great. But he's cleared all of this too, which really, it's just kind of making it feel like a big wide open field up here now. So I think it's obvious on that 2014 boundary line plan. Is there a way to pull that up on here as well? Sorry. He submitted it as part of his materials. I just go to.
While she's
Sorry,
pulling
I'm
that
new to
up-
this.
While she's pulling that up, I'm just curious, what building is this? Is this on your property as well?
No, that's a neighbor,
Okay.
and
So
they.
that's on the other side of you.
It is, yeah. And they applied for a variance to build that structure. Unfortunately, they applied for it after the owner of my home went into hospice, so that was kind of an intentional play. But anyway, so that's there too.
For the record, Brenda's on this case right now, right?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay,
My
great.
I don't remember
So-
seeing that. Is that pending in front of us?
No, that was a year ago now.
Oh, maybe I must have been here.
So,
Lot 79.
You remember?
yep, that would be 79 West Parish Road.
That neighborhood was a nightmare.
So
Kept
it's like
subdividing it, right?
this lot,
Yeah.
like the house, and this, and this.
So
She's
really,
right
my
here.
trouble with this is just, the more this house is set back, it does protrude outward. The view is at this angle over this way. And I don't have a view easement here. I personally don't think I even have rights to a view so much as I have rights to not have their backyard be my front yard, I think. So I don't think he can at all meet the hardship requirement because he's got a perfectly buildable area here. And while it might be a little damp, it's not wetlands. He could build the house right up here. The pictures that I submitted, the first and second picture are actually not duplicates. The purpose of these is that this first picture, actually let's go to the third picture first, sorry. The third picture was taken from where his preferred location for the house. The second picture, I walked up about 35 feet. It doesn't change the view very much. The house is still going to have a beautiful view. It probably doesn't matter, but this is my primary residence. He's building this house for resale.
So quick question, so you're saying the distance from the purple to the yellow is only 35 feet?
No, I'm saying I walked up about 35 feet or so, because what he was getting at is, if he can't build this exact house, he might build one that is, the house in the front and a garage around the back with the driveway wrapping around or something. That's what I'm understanding. So he could potentially build back here. I mean, this isn't the only buildable area, it's just the contiguous buildable area. So he could, put a box here, and then hypothetically another smaller box back here for the garage. I just have an issue with how close this is going to be to really, this is the only porch or deck at my house. And all of this is clear now, and it's basically this house's backyard if he were to put it here.
Yeah, I have a house in my backyard, so I get the scenario.
And I just, it's on 5.5 acres. You wouldn't expect somebody to be able to build a house that close. When you buy the house, you rely on these setbacks. And again, between these two lots, we have 10 acres. There's no reason to cluster them like this.
Interesting lot.
Well, except for that they're all extremely narrow, so although they're.
Well, sure, but we have all this usable area right here. There's no need to build the house up here. It's just a preference.
He also mentions it's sloping. Do you agree with that?
It slopes a little bit, but it's not a significant grade by any means. It's maybe a 10-foot difference between the roadway to,
Yeah.
I think the pictures might show it. It's pretty flat. But
Sounded like it would be like a garage under situation, or you'd have to put the garage
No,
behind the
definitely not.
house.
It's not. I mean, maybe if you guys want to do a site walk or something, but it's definitely not that kind of grade.
No,
Can you go back to your view conversation? I know you said you don't have a right to view, but I mean, from your property, what's the preferred view?
The best view is probably this angle right off the porch over this way. So I would say Mount Kearsarge is probably somewhere over in this direction. I acknowledge, my house faces this way. So the best view from the house is really if I'm standing right about here and looking in this angle. But again, if I'm sitting on my deck, probably the whole right side of the deck has the view of the mountain. If he's going to put a structure right here, and it's that close, I mean, it's definitely going to block it.
So if I use this as a reference.
Yep.
There's Kearsarge right there.
Over the left further, but yeah, or a little, oh yeah, sorry.
but I don't think where he's proposing to build that he would be blocking the view of this whole structure there, which we have Kearsarge in the back. I think he would be blocking the view to the left of these properties, don't you think? I'm just
No.
looking at the angle right there and where the property is across the street as a reference point.
Okay,
Right,
the
'cause
view
that's
is
an
over this way.
84.
It's over to the left of, from my home, because my home is then to the right further from these pictures that you're looking at.
So on this map, on this rendition, where are these houses right here? Up on that map?
Those would be probably right about here.
across
You
the
can see them
street.
right here.
Yeah. It's number 84.
Yeah.
And so Kearsarge,
This
move you,
section. Kearsarge is to the left of those just a little bit.
okay, got it.
Either way, just from the, you know, the legal aspect of this, I don't know what, if any, of these requirements that he's satisfied. I'll pull up my letter here. I don't think I need to reiterate everything in this letter, but I feel it would harm my property value. He hasn't presented any evidence as to why it wouldn't. I don't think his rights as a person who wants to build a structure outside of something that, or outside of the permitted area, outweighs my rights as an abutter with an existing home. Again, there's no hardship because he has a perfectly usable area of the space. I think it goes on and on.
Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard in opposition to this application? Any comments from city planner? Seeing none, I'll declare the hearing closed, or,
Oh, I was
oh, wait a
gonna say,
minute,
can we
I'm
just
sorry,
ask him
we-
a couple questions about the,
I'm gonna bring him back, yes.
Thank you.
Would you like to come up and offer us any further clarification from information you just heard?
So I think in one of my pictures, you can see the proposed outline of the house. Number one, the Kearsarge in the back. So this view is from front of her house, and she's back probably another 20 feet from this.
speak up just a little more.
Sorry. So I think the height of the house will not affect the view, and she'll only be seeing the right side of the house in her view out if she looks out to the left. If I move it down, she's going to have the whole house across the whole field. That'll be in her view, seeing the whole thing. I don't want to move it down the hill again, just for all the neighbors. I don't want to block their view. You know, I think it's just it is preference on where the house. I'm a concrete contractor, so I've seen a lot of holes and jobs, and I know what the outcome of the build is going to be if I move it down into the sloped, front yard 60 feet down. It's going to,
60 feet down?
if I move it down 60 feet to fit
Oh,
within
okay.
the
From the
setbacks.
purple to the yellow.
Yeah, well, it's not the yellow. This was done by somebody who made the plan. I'm not,
Oh, okay,
I'm
well,
not
that's
sure,
what I've
it's
been
not
looking at.
city,
So,
this isn't anything, I'm not sure.
so where are you where's your alternative, if we don't grant this?
It would be approximately, it'd be right beside this neighbor, which actually I have that picture.
Because
I'm not.
my thought process is the closer towards the road he goes, there might be more distance from her house to the proposed house, but it looks like it's actually gonna put more of the house in the way of the view that she's saying is to the left.
But I'm also not, I mean,
Right?
maybe
Like-
this, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
So I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead,
Oh,
I apologize.
Picture 6 is a view of the neighbor's house here, where I have staked out where the house would fit without a variance. And it's,
Okay.
But the purple is what you're asking for now, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, maybe that's
Because-
not exactly to scale. I'm having a hard time seeing how you're moving it up. Say, you're saying you'll move up about halfway to where that yellow is?
So between these two setbacks right here is 54 feet. To get, the house is 74 feet wide. To get to 74 feet, we're going to be right in this area.
And did you explain, maybe Maybe you didn't, I just didn't catch it. Why can't you just turn the house? Why does it have to be,
Here?
in that orientation? Can't you just turn 90 degrees?
It won't fit, and you can see that on the septic plans. It doesn't fit in this area right here.
But, I mean, it must be,
Rotated 90 degrees.
yeah, rotated 90 degrees. The rectangle must be about twice the length to the width, right?
Yes.
So why don't you just turn it?
It's the house, the windows, the view, the front farmer's porch.
Oh,
mean,
it's an aesthetic.
Yeah,
Well,
aesthetic,
that,
yeah.
you're also gonna have the house facing a house and looking out the back of a house.
Okay,
If you
okay.
angle that.
Right, okay,
Like,
that,
the
that's
front's looking at one house, the back's looking at another instead of the view.
fair enough. But, right, it would fit if you oriented, but then you're saying
Right.
that would ruin the,
Yeah,
Actually, I'm not sure if the plan's in here, but yeah, it would.
that would hurt the value.
Right.
it would hurt the appeal of the,
Yeah.
I understand. So you want to keep the same orientation, you would just move it up as far as you could to get within the setback, but it would be a less ideal setting, both construction-wise and
Right,
view-wise, is what you're saying.
right. I would lose the whole first floor of the view.
That's the whole what?
The first floor, it drops about 10 feet, so the whole first floor would
Okay.
have a view.
So the drop is about
Yeah.
10 feet.
And from your papers, it was, the main reason to set it back farther is the view.
The view and to not block the neighbors' views. Again, that picture, if they look out their window, they'd see my house.
Yeah.
And, you know, this as well, I'd be in line with this neighbor as well.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like us to know?
I don't think so.
Sorry, can I just ask one more question?
Yeah,
Or
go ahead.
From your papers, what you're saying, the setback is 40 feet and you're asking to be within 30 feet, but just from that drawing, I mean, is that an exact measurement? Because I mean, the 30 feet on each side seems a little, not very specific. Is that the exact amount you need? Because from there, it barely looks like you're into the setback at all.
Right, well, can we pull up the septic plan by chance? With the tie points?
The what?
The tie point plan, septic plan? It should be in your papers.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
The septic plan. Do you have that?
is it the second to last page in your papers?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, I see.
In the new packet that came in the,
Yeah, so,
it's in the new packet, Andrew, that came in the folder.
All right.
it's fourth from the
Here
back.
with the septic
Should say
design.
tie points on it.
Oh, there's different
That's the
material
one
in
you're
this?
talking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this one, you can see the setbacks drawn in.
Yeah, okay, I saw that one, yeah, okay.
On the
I'm
left
with you.
side, we have, the front corner is actually 9 feet, the back corner is 10 feet. On the right side, that front corner of the house is only 4 feet over the setback. But because of the angle of the lot, the rear corner is 10 feet.
Okay, so if I'm staring up the lot to the house, the right side is 10 feet over the setback, the left side is only 4 to 6?
No, the left side is 9 feet in the front, 10
Okay.
in the back.
Okay,
And then this lot line is so skewed that
Yeah.
it's 4 and 10.
4 and 10, okay, yeah. It is an awkward lot.
It is, yeah.
Good?
I'm good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll declare the hearing closed. And now for discussion. Andrew?
Oh, thanks. Everyone else already decided.
I can tell everybody
I
else
could be wrong.
before that.
I mean, I mean, the view is, by his own admission, one of the main reasons he wants to put it where it is, but other than that, as the neighbor herself said, the view isn't really relevant to a setback request. It really has to do with, you know, why it needs to be so, or why it would be a hardship to not allow it. And the setback requirements in general have to do with allowing space in an RO. In here, I'm not, I'm not seeing that this is a particularly serious setback violation from this diagram, because although it, you know, at its farthest point, maybe it's 10 feet in, but it really doesn't take up too much of the setback, and there is still a lot of space. So I think it's a fairly minor infringement you know, onto the RO. On the other hand, I didn't get a compelling case why you really couldn't move it, so I'm a little bit torn.
Let's see what everybody else has to say.
Yeah, I want to hear what everyone else has to say.
Jim?
Yeah, it's tough for me to try to base a case on different perspectives and views, so I just have to look at the facts, and I just didn't see a compelling reason why there's a hardship on the setbacks.
Brenda?
So, I see some of the hardship. A 10-foot elevation's not huge, but I could see why he wouldn't want to construct it on the elevation, and then in front of that is wet, so I get that. I totally sympathize with the neighbor because I look out my back door, I'm staring at the front of my neighbor's house. So I understand what she's saying, and ours are close together. But I also feel like just being in real estate and having a little bit of a new construction, you know, mind, if he moves it forward, he's actually going to be more in her view than he is back there. So it might feel uncomfortable that their decks are only 100+ feet apart. I think her view is going to be even more constricted if he moves it forward. And it just maybe doesn't feel like it yet because you can't physically see it. I'm inclined to say yes to it, but I'm flexible because I'm not sure how far that elevation hardship goes up the lot to require it to be this far back, so I'm flexible on it.
I don't care about the views. There is a perfectly good place to build a house. There is absolutely no hardship. There's no way I could vote for this variance.
Over.
Well, and I agree with Brenda that I think the view will be further exacerbated if you put it where he can put it. But I'm also don't see a hardship. I just don't see the hardship, unfortunately.
And I kind of agree with Brenda too, in the sense that this may not be the complying may not be the ideal, and maybe the neighbor is going to regret she came once it's all built. But that's but that's not the standard. Is that you're not entitled to build it in the absolute ideal spot. I do agree that there are other areas on the lot. Sorry, I was belaboring. I was having a little hard time teasing it out of him exactly the reason.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an awkward lot. The whole back section is almost, you know, wasted. No, I don't want to say wasted space because natural space is good, but it's not usable in any way.
I think that's why it's an awkward lot, because people were slicing up to get as much of the view area possible to build on.
Great. I guess we're ready for a motion.
I will make a motion to deny this variance on the basis that there is no hardship because there is a legal, reasonable, and perfectly adequate building envelope that complies with setbacks. And therefore, there is no unnecessary hardship.
I will second.
Is that good enough, Anne Marie? Great. So motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of denying the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion to deny is 5-0. Okay, for the last case, Mark, you're on
Wrong, but I think
for the final finish. Okay. So our last case tonight is case 4-8. I think it's our last case. Yeah, 4-8 Advantage Signs on behalf of Roman Catholic Bishop of Manchester requests approval for variance from section 2869B 1A and B, permitted building size to permit 60 square feet of signage where 38 square feet is the maximum allowed at 67 South State Street in the urban transitional UT district, not a development of regional impact, ZBA 0262-2025. Is that you? Okay. You're on.
Doesn't look like the bishop.
And just for clarification, Mark's
Yes,
sitting in.
yeah, we'll
Sorry.
get that in there. Get ahead of me. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Great, thank you. For the record, state your name.
Jonathan Hawley with Warren Street Architects.
I'm sorry, Jonathan.
Hawley.
Great. What would you like us to know?
So, the sign that's being applied for, if you look at the sign up top, two things. One, first, the lettering dedicated 2024 is going to come off. That's not being considered at this time. So it's just Christ the King Food Pantry, Teresa A. Downing Memorial Building. The requirement of, the way that this has been measured and the way staff looked at it is that this is a piece of PVC trim mounted to the building with acrylic letters that have studs. So if you actually take the square footage of Christ the King Food Pantry, and I'll give you 8 inches plus 4 for the space between and another 4, that's 16, 174 across. We're a little less than 20 square feet of sign where 36 is allowed. So it's an issue of the PVC trim board in the back being considered the sign, which is over the 36 square feet. So that's my only clarification.
So, John, is the public entrance or access to the food pantry going to be on Main Street or State Street?
State Street.
And this is facing State?
State Street, yeah. So the welcome sign over the door,
Yeah.
to the right, has a small porch that steps back about 20 feet. And then there's one other little sign in the back that says donations drop off, and there's a raised porch there for people to leave things out of the weather.
And is that back into the parking lot?
In the back, yep, yep,
This is the building they're constructing now next to the school?
yep.
The one that got the funding, that got a large donation for the
Teresa
building.
Downing
Yeah,
left a huge,
that is amazing.
But we approved that. It was
Right, we-
before.
Yeah, yep,
Right,
my nonprofit, we sometimes help supply toiletry supplies for them because that's the one they run out of the most often and get the least donation for.
that's the only clarification I had.
And again, signage is determined by building, not by lot, right? So this building gets its own allocation of signage. Even though,
The number of signs is, you can have 3 signs per building. The total square footage is determined by the frontage, the building's frontage.
Oh, interesting.
So it's 2 different things.
You mean
Okay.
the lot, the building, the lots? front?
No, the
buildings.
building, not the lot.
Oh, so so if you get a variance to build a building, now you inherently can put signage on it?
Yes.
Right.
so because it's a tiny building, it gets a tiny square footage of signage.
Correct, because it doesn't have much building frontage.
Okay.
So one thing that you should know, that when this building got approved, we did a lot consolidation. So I think there were 8 or 9 lots that were consolidated.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I
So
remember
it's
that.
one
Yep.
It's one large lot.
master lot now.
Including the school and the church and all the structures.
But again, that is.
It's irrelevant to the.
Yeah, it's irrelevant, immaterial, because it's based on the building frontage, and this building has a small amount of frontage.
Yep.
But wait, I thought frontage is by lot, not by building.
She means the frontage of the building.
The sign requirement is the building
With
frontage.
the size of the building, the size of the
Yeah.
building as it fronts
Yep.
Right.
the main road it's on.
For a lot to be created or anything else, that's based on the lot frontage.
Right.
But
I got
the
you.
lot frontage, but the
The building frontage.
The building frontage is what determines the amount of square footage allowed for signage.
And technically,
We're
this
working
is
on this, right?
surrounded- Technically, this is surrounded by
Yeah.
parking lot, right? Like the whole
Yeah.
building is,
There's an alleyway on the right.
yeah,
Between that and the residential building to the
right,
south.
yeah.
And then there's the parking lot between that and St. John's
Yeah.
to the north.
Any other questions?
No.
Any comments? No?
No, sir.
Okay, so seeing that there's no one in the audience to speak either for or against the application, I'm going to defer to city planner for any additional comments. Seeing none, I'll open it up for discussion.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Pretty good? Me too?
I don't think we're gonna look very good if we approve the Raising Cane's
Right.
and then deny the food pantry.
But no food pantry.
So who'd like to make the motion?
I will, because I don't think we should adopt their findings of fact,
Oh, okay.
just because you didn't do a very good job. So I'm going to help you out.
Go for it.
I would move to approve, well, let me read that part. I make a motion to grant the variance from section 2869B1A and B, permitted building signs, to permit 60 square feet of signage where 38 square feet is the maximum allowed at 67 State Street, because all of the criteria under 674-33 have been met based on the record before us, because this variance will not be contrary to the public interest or spirit of the ordinance, because it is not going to alter the essential character of the neighborhood or be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. It is not going to diminish surrounding property values. There is no gain to the public from denying the variance, and the hardship is the meager amount of signage that is permitted for this small building. And there is nothing superfluous about this signage.
Who's going to second?
I'll second it, and I'll add to the findings of fact that it's a little bit of a complex campus with multiple things associated with the parish, and so having proper signage will help the public find access to it.
Very good. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you,
And-
everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now I need a motion to accept the minutes from March 5th. Who's here?
I'll move to approve the
I was
minutes
here.
from March.
Who seconded?
I'll second.
The motion's been made, seconded. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
No one opposes. And is there any other business that may legally come before the board? So, motion to adjourn,
I'll move to adjourn.
second? Anybody say? Seeing there's no discussion, all in favor say aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. We're adjourned.
Good.